Morning, we are making several batches of bread this morning. I have done 2 double batches and then I'm going to do a single batch for focaccia for my parents who need this for a party tomorrow. I truly don't really follow any kind of a specific focaccia recipe. I just add a little bit of extra olive oil when I'm mixing this and let it over ferment, overproof. That's all I do for focaccia. So we're going to start out with 350 grams of warm filtered water, and we will do 150 grams of active starter. I was able to use a lot of my discard, brought her out of the fridge last night and gave her a good feed, and she is happy, and I planned it pretty darn well here for what I was going to need this morning, if I do say so myself. So 150-ish grams of active starter. We're going to get that mixed up into a little slurry. And normally I delay adding my salt in my dough recipe, but for focaccia I don't really care. We're going to do 500 grams of flour, bread flour. I just do the King Arthur bread flour from Costco. And then I am going to add 10 grams of salt in here. Why not? You put a lot of olive oil in focaccia throughout this process, so we'll do 15-ish grams for now. And remove that from the scale. I will do some stretch and folds on this, but again, for focaccia, it's basically just adding a little, for me personally, is adding a little bit of olive oil into my dough mixture and not delaying my salt, and then just letting it over ferment. That's my secret. And this is a crowd favorite for sure, so I don't know. I thought about making some extra bread for this party. My mom was like, well, why don't you make some in case people want to buy some, you know, at the party. I'm like, because it's a lot of extra work to make that much dough, especially not knowing if anybody's gonna end up purchasing it. It's a lot of time, effort, ingredients, a timer from when I put together my other 2 batches of dough. So I'll just put her on the same rotation for stretch and folds. That way we can get it all done in one shot, and then I'll be back to show you guys that process. Okay, our 42 minutes are up, and I'm just going to do a little bit of stretch and fold on this smaller batch of dough I have that I'm going to use for focaccia. I guess I'm just going to slap it around. Focaccia is really forgiving, but I do want to work up that structure. And then the over fermentation is what's going to give us that really fluffy and pillowy focaccia vibe that we are going for. All right, we'll come back in a half an hour after I do my other stretch and folds. And all right, we are back 30 minutes later, and I'm going to do another set of stretch and folds here on our focaccia dough. All right, it's starting to build up some gluten here. It is a little bit more wet with the oil in my dough from the other batches that I'm working with this morning, but I'm just keeping them all on the same schedule and rotation for stretch and folds to make it easier on myself, and then they'll all be ready around the same time. And this baby just needs that little extra time because she is going to be a focaccia. This is very sticky compared to what I'm normally working with, so I'm going to cover it back up and we'll come back in 30 minutes. Okay, let's do our next round of stretch and folds. 30 minutes has passed. Just getting a little water on my hands here. This is so goopy compared to my other dough that I'm working with today. I assume from that oil, but it's fine. At least it's kind of coming into a form. That gluten development going on. I don't know. I just don't know why the oil would make it seem so much more. Oh, I didn't have my light on, sorry. All right, so our focaccia is looking a lot better. It's maintaining its form a little bit more. Again, no aliquot method for this because I'm going to over ferment it, so I don't need to gauge how this dough is doing throughout the day, and I'm doing several other batches at the same time, so I have kind of a way to determine when this is going to be ready. Come back for one more round of stretch and folds in 30 minutes. Let's do our last set of stretch and folds here on our focaccia. The other dough is looking really good. Oh, here she's getting more into her own structured shape, which is the purpose of these like stretch and folds and coil folds. And we're gonna cover her up and let her just chill out for the rest of the bulk ferment and beyond. Once I start shaping my other dough, I'll take a look at how she's doing and then put her in the fridge later on today. Goodness gracious. So we'll be back probably, I don't know, either today or tomorrow when I'm ready to bake her. Hello, it's been honestly about almost 12 hours since we made this focaccia dough. I just let it get a little bit overproofed here. You can see those bubbles. And I sprayed this pan with some oil just so that it wouldn't get stuck on the sides. But I'm just gonna put some olive oil in there and let this kind of, it's sticky. Just let it kind of plop in here. I'm just gonna cover it, put it in the fridge overnight. I'll take it out probably right when I wake up in the morning to acclimate to being out at room temperature, and then it'll start to get those nice bubbles and ferment a little bit more. But here's what we're working with so far. I'm gonna cover it in the fridge overnight, and then we will come back tomorrow.